I want to call the meeting of June 18th, the special meeting, to order. If we could, everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Roll call. Mayor Racy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Porter,
Here.
Councilman Miller,
Present.
Councilman Webster,
Here.
Councilman Dowd,
Here.
Councilwoman Skiff,
Here.
Councilman Wagner.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Okay, thank you. If I could have Mike Byton come up, and he's going to give a brief overview.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in this public hearing, we have before us the consideration for a renewal of the street lighting assessment. The street lighting assessment was started in 2012. At that time, it was thought that we should recover about 2/3 of the cost of street lighting, that we would be able to figure out how to come up with the rest during a time when we were very short on finances. In 2014, it became apparent that our finances were in such a condition that unless we raised the full support for the street lighting, that we wouldn't be able to cover the street lighting bill for our community. So in 2014, the council renewed a street lighting assessment for 5 years to cover the full cost of the street lighting within our community. That 5-year term has expired with the last winter tax bill. So what's before you today is a consideration of renewing that assessment. That assessment traditionally will go up and down as it's worded in the language of the street assessment as it was passed. This year, to avoid confusion, we are going to keep the rates the same as last year so that the dollar amount that you receive this summer will look like the same as you receive on the winter tax bill that's coming up. It will be the same as the amount of last year. We wanted to avoid some confusion. Normally, we evaluate the increase or decrease in October. So if we posted a rate in the summertime now for the residents and or all property owners, and then that went up or down in October, that would look very confusing come winter tax bill time. So what's being proposed is to keep the fees constant for this coming up assessment if the assessment is renewed.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing. And I'm going to have people on my left first. So go ahead. And we're going to be doing 3 minutes just because of the time.
Okay, my name is Virginia Carter. I live on Mildred Street. I'm not only a resident, I'm also work at a business that is also being charged. The business, by the way, is being charged almost $1,500 for lights they never asked for. So, it was about 5-6 years ago. Y'all asked for this special tax to pay for these lights. You said then that it was only temporary. We, the people, protested it then, and you did it anyways. Now your time is up. In those 6 years, what have any of you done to renegotiate this DTE contract that you say you are bound to? You've had 5 years, 6 years. Your job was to renegotiate that in that amount of time that was given you. If you have done nothing in that amount of time, then you have not done your jobs and you are not worthy to sit on those seats. You are here to help the people, and taxing us more isn't helping us. The Democratic ideology that says that let the people pay more is unrealistic and outdated. We, the people, do not have the democratic ability to raise the roof on our budgets. Hence the reason Obamacare was such a big flop. When it comes to feeding the family, you're paying some government-enforced bill. I choose to eat. It is no different with the lights. I choose to eat. Turn your lights off if you need to. Turn off every other one or run them every other day. Or, hey, Maybe you just cut the number of hours that they're running. Any of these options you have refused to look at or you've refused to accept. There isn't a single light on my street near my house. The closest one is at the corner near the 7-Eleven store, and the 7-Eleven light for their parking lot is stronger than the light in the street. DTE has never replaced a single pole on the side streets. It has not replaced any of the power lines going to my house or around the back. It does not keep the trees cleared of those lines. It has not upgraded any of the lines. I lose power almost at every storm because most of the transformers probably haven't been replaced since the 1940s. I don't know what this contract with DTE says, but apparently it's all one-sided. You need to renegotiate instead of taking the easy way out and burdening the people more. If you don't know how to renegotiate, then call President Trump. Maybe he can help you. But as for my side, I'm not paying this bill anymore. We'll deduct it off of my taxes each and every time you bill me. And if you come after my house because I refuse to pay this light tax, I will burn it to the ground before I will surrender it to you.
Good evening. My name's Tony Sanders. I live at 2915 Tanglewood Drive. And 5 years ago, when I stood at the rec center and told you that this wasn't a good idea, that it's not a temporary thing. It's just like the federal government with temporary taxes. You know, nothing, it's not temporary. I told everybody in the crowd, this isn't just your fault. This is the people, a lot of people behind me. I told them right there to their faces, if you vote these people in after they vote for this tax, you're as guilty as they are. Now I'm going to say it one more time. If you vote these people in again, the next election, you're as guilty as they are. So just remember who's taking the money out of your pocket, because they told us the last time that when DTE put in these LED lights, our costs would go down, not up, down. Now, I don't know what's in this contract or anything else, but I expect you to work for me. You know, you're supposed to work for the citizens, not for DTE or anybody else. Find the money somewhere, quit raising our taxes the way you do. You know, you nickel and dime us to death. Because in the wording of that thing, it says this is an estimated tax, and down the road, I can guarantee every one of you that it's going to go up and up and up. And if you keep voting these same people in on city council, that's what you're going to get. You know, and it's just as much your fault as it is theirs. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Nancy Pride. During the daytime, I'll try to make this as brief as possible. During the daytime, I went to every subdivision that's north of Michigan Avenue West. I also realized and looked at I have a huge map in my hallway of our city, about as big as that one. I also understand that if you look at that map, you're going to notice that from Michigan Avenue West, north, the density of housing is much lower than the density of Michigan Avenue East, south. That means that the south is carrying the burden of the north. One of the things and that's density of housing, and that's been that way forever, folks. I went from neighborhood to neighborhood. In my neighborhood, I estimated driving and how far the back end of my car gets to the next point, and so on. Our lights are 10 cars apart. I have an escape. 10 cars of mine are the distance between our lights. That's on the south side. Tanglewood, however, has their lights alternated on one side, one on the other, another one on this side, and those are 3 cars apart. I could turn my lights off and drive in their neighborhood. You can't do that in mine. Glenwood sub Their lights are 6 cars apart, and they're all on one side. Never could figure that one out. They're all on one side. Then I went to Whitney Knoll. That's a dirt street. They have the old-fashioned Wayne County lights, you know, the kind that go up and kind of bend like this? And they have a bright halogen light up there, kind of rectangular in shape. I could turn my lights off and drive in that neighborhood too. They're about 6 cars apart also. Some of them are 4 cars apart. That was Tanglewood. 4 cars between the one that's on this side and the one that's over on this side. I don't know about Legacy Estate. I think that's a subdivision that's off of Glenwood. I'm not really sure. I just remember hearing that word a lot. Then I went over to the beautiful on the river condos. Let me tell you, you are ripping those folks off. There is not one darn City Light or Edison on that street. The lights that they have provided in their neighborhood is off of their garage. And that is 2 that automatically turn on. So I don't know what you're going to do about this, but I don't want to see you advance it 10 years because we might not be here.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Margaret Aniel. I've lived on Barry Street, which is 1 block south of Michigan and west of Merriman. I'm here for 3 points. I've owned the house for 36 years, and 6 months after we moved in, we were robbed. The 18-year-old was caught and prosecuted, but because of this felony, I contacted DTE to install a street light on the pole that is on the south side of my house. It lights up the side of the house, and the DT light has been paid by me, not by anybody else, but by me. Later, I installed light-sensitive lights on the front side and back of the house, as well as a motion sensor on the garage. The light on the pole that I purchased is the only light on the block. This is Barry Street. There are 14 trees at the north end of Barry Street that there is a light on the north side of the intersection of Avon and Barry. However, the light is useless because the 14 trees block the light and is basically an urban forest. The trees are on the grassy area between the sidewalk and the street, which I believe is city property. These trees have not been trimmed to my knowledge in the last 30 years. There is a light on the east side of Merriman at the Carlisle intersection. The floodlight enabled people to see the Carlisle and make a safe turn. However, it is in Westland, and they've decided to replace that floodlight with the LED. The LED acts like a spotlight, whereas the floodlight is much wider. So rather than a floodlight, they put up the LED, which does absolutely nothing to light up that intersection. If you're traveling north on Merriman and get to that, you can't even see that street anymore because they changed it. So if that's going to happen there, anytime you replace an LED, it's going to have the same concept attached to it. It's not going to be functional, so what's the point? After observing the intersection of Merriman and Carlisle, it's not really in the residents' best interest to have LED lighting. It may be cheaper as a line item on the budget, but the LEDs do not provide the lighting as well as the floodlights. It's also a safety issue that should not be ignored. The trees on Barry Street should be trimmed on the north end of Barry. There is a light on that north end. You can't see it because of those 14 trees, and it does nothing to light up that street at all. As your constituent, I'm requesting that I be exempt of the assessment of the $69.46, since I was proactive and paid already 30 years ago for the cost of the lighting on my property, which also lights up the backyards of 3 houses that live on Carlisle. Lastly, my understanding is that Hannon is exempt regarding streetlights because there are no lights on Hannon. Since Barry Street is in the same position, the exemption should be granted to Barry Street as well.
Anybody else on my left? Okay, anybody on my right?
Hi, my name is Tina Beckwith. I'm actually here representing Burton Investment on Michigan and Sims. I don't have any objections to the light or anything. We just want a clarification because it looks like we're being charged for the frontage on Michigan and on the backside of Sims as well. So we just want clarification. I understand that Kurt Burton was here during the last meeting and he thought that that would be corrected.
That's something, have you connect with Mike Byton, he can look at that if there's an issue, but it shouldn't be that way. That's the one, yeah,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Afterwards. Okay. go ahead.
My name's Charles Farringer. I live on 4th Street between Forest and Annapolis. We have one street light on our whole street, and it's shared with Clinton. I mean, how you're trying to charge everybody on our street $69 for one street light's kind of ridiculous.
Thank you. Anybody else on my right? Okay.
Hello, Wayne. I've been here, next year will be 50 years. I have a small business in Wayne. I've been here now and then, and I hope there's some reporters here. The Wayne Eagle, I lived here in Wayne. I had the third oldest house in Wayne. It burned down in '89. They called it the Moonlight Fire in the Wayne Eagle. But what I'm here for is the frustration of the potential Wayne has. The city services, the police department, fire department, thumbs up, great, and it's a nice town. I have a home in Farmington Hills, I have a home in Livonia, and I have an apartment in North Hill. Believe me, that's a different animal. When I was a young man, first coming here to Wayne to open up a business, I talked to a guy, I remember he had a toupee on, it was crooked, and I says, I'm coming here to Wayne, and this place has got some old buildings, and we could be like Plymouth. He said, this will never be a Plymouth. So I'm here today to express my frustration in Wayne. I hear you're barely making it. You're on the. Well, I almost embarrassed sometimes to say that I have a business in Wayne. Why? Because that's the reputation you have outside of this city. It has so much potential is why it's so I'm frustrated, why I'm here every now and then to express my concern. Because you people out here, this place, this city could really be good if somebody got creative and a little bit active. You get this, the Eastern Michigan had a study, and they told me that this side of Wayne, I'm right on Wayne Road, the opposite of your town. They said majority of the people live in Wayne. That's where the main strut should be, you know? And I often think, when you guys put those lights up and you put some brick walls or sidewalks, that was great. The lights are beautiful, I love them. But it lights up an area where, in my business, I don't even call the police anymore because they're stealing my wheels. They just stole my ladder because of the aluminum. They go right behind the building. They sell it. The crackheads are loaded with them. Legionnaires Hall is next to me. It's not anymore. It's a liquor store. I just clean up bottles, chase away bums, and they urinate on the corner of the building. This is what I see every day. You got a lot more bums coming around. We help them out. We feel sorry for them. The cross street, lately I seen I'm going to say it, pimp and prostitute. The pimp dressed up classic with the bright hats on and the clothes, and the ladies waiting there. This is new. But my son is taking over the business, and I'm worried. I really am worried. The police are great. The fire department's efficient. And you have a nice attitude here. You got that recreation building. I don't think, that's a beautiful building, but I don't think it's doing what, you still got that garage right on Wayne Road. That was built just when I came here. And still, I don't think anything was done to it. So I'm just throwing the lights, I've got a light in front of my building that I'm paying for. But I've got a light that I also guess I have to pay for that's in front of the liquor store. It's 50 feet away from my other lot.
Okay.
I should have wrote down because there's a lot more I got to say.
Yeah.
But you're not business friendly. I worked for Ford Motor Company for 31 years. I know how close Ford came from leaving the city. And I know how close they are. If the Bronco and that Ranger doesn't make it, they're gone. And if you're not friendly with the small business, trying to improve the streets so hire a few more police so they can like they can walk down the street late at night and feel comfortable like they can in some cities. And there's a lot of crackheads, I'm telling you, that are just packed up in this side of the town.
Okay.
But all I guess bottom line is, why do I have to pay for the light that's lighting up the liquor store? Not me. And by the way, 30 feet, when you guys sold, when the Legion Heirs got out because they went broke, just like I did, I lost a house.
You're gonna need to wrap up, or, I'm sorry, you're over 3 minutes right now.
There you go. Here's your Wayne. He's the mayor too, right?
So what you're saying is the streetlights aren't preventing crime?
No, not in my place. Listen, don't burn the house down. Just get somebody to tear it down.
Anybody else on my right?
Yeah, I hear you.
My name's Elizabeth Doyle, and I went to the meeting the last time you decided to put an assessment on the lights, and everybody complained, and you still went ahead and passed it anyways. And now you've said it's going to be 10 years. I live on Social Security disability. I cannot keep paying more and more for this bill to keep going up or down. I can barely make it as it is, much less having to add an extra assessment onto my property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess,
My name's Sharon Sherrill. I just moved here from Hillsdale, Michigan. I'm ready to run back to Hillsdale, Michigan. I can't understand, I've got a long street and a whole bunch of houses. And if every one of those houses has to pay as much as you're asking for, you're gonna take in thousands of dollars for 4 lights. Cause I live on a long street and solid houses. So I'd just like for somebody to explain to me why that price? Why so much? With as many houses as there is on that street.
everybody collectively is paying the bill for the entire city. You're not paying for just the lights on your street, it's
There's
all the
like every
lights.
place else. I pay for somebody that don't want to pay.
It's everybody collectively paying for the bill together. Yeah. Can you say your name and your street, please?
Hi, I live on Winslow Street. My name is Lorianne Bell.
Okay.
I've only been in Wayne Michigan for 2 years. I just have a question. So this says estimated. So can you tell me what this bill is gonna be 5 years out? 10 years out?
No, we can't.
Wait. I don't wanna get into all that. So you want me to commit to this even though you can't tell me what it's gonna be 5 years from now? And from
we don't-
just coming into the community, it sounds like they didn't want this in the first place. So I'm sorry, I can't commit to this.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
So we all know that grant money is taxpayer money, even though it's free from the state. We pay for the money that the state gives out in grant money. We spent a little over $300,000, nearly $400,000 to get these LED lights. And at that time, when I sat up there with you, I had told you guys, don't do this. Let's research this issue. And let's renegotiate this. And when DTE came later, because we were having issues, I then said, and I took the DTE to task, and they didn't like it. And she didn't like the way she was being spoke to. But I'm going to tell you that I told you then, and I told you now. We should have had an exit strategy. We should have been doing something that would have prevented this from happening, because I told you at that time, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, Lincoln, Consolidated Schools, many other districts, many other municipalities were suing DTE because they were sold the same bill of goods prior to us making this decision. I was said, don't worry about it. I was told, don't worry about it. Well, I'm worrying about it then, and I worry about it now, because now we have an estimated tax when it used to be just a flat tax, and now we don't even know what it's going to be out 10 years down the road, because we should have sat there and done something. Because what happens, just like DTE does all the time, they have monopoly. They say they pledge this cost savings, and then what they do is they raise rates. So there is no cost savings. All of this LED expenditure was free money to DTE because it was a paper shuffle and a shuffle from the state, given to us, given to them. They benefit. We're left holding the bag. Just like then, just like now.
Mark, did you?
evening, Mayor, council members. I know that this is a stretch. It's 10 years. We're not committed as of right now to that, correct? This is just a proposal?
Mhm.
Okay. Would you folks maybe consider 3 years for right now? Because obviously, the people, I mean, we're here because we care. And not saying that you folks don't, but 10 years is quite a stretch. Even when you go to, let's say, Verizon to buy a new cell phone, you're only committed to 24 months with no down payment, 22 years. So let's consider maybe 3 years for now. Obviously, you know, it doesn't matter if you live the north side of town, south side, east side, west side. We're talking about our community. I live south of Michigan Avenue East, over by Mrs. Pride, and we still have yet to gotten any LED lights on Michigan Avenue. And I know that's because we ran out of money or something, but I wish this, you folks are our elected representatives, and I would convey to you to seriously think of just committing to a 3-year contract instead of 10, because 10 years is quite a stretch. And I'd like to thank all the people that showed up here. And like I said, we're here because we care. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There's somebody else.
I'm Mary Ann Trudeau. I live on Glenwood Road in Wayne, directly across from Schweitzer Elementary School. I agreed with the 5 years. I thought that was doable. This 10 years is unacceptable. Makes me really want to move out of the city of Wayne. I've lived here with my husband for over 30 years. I'm very disappointed, and I'm very upset about it. The second thing I would like to ask is, before Schweitzer Elementary had the bus lane in, there was a parking area that was dirt in front of my house. The city paved that area, and for the safety of all of the children, I requested no stopping, standing, or parking signs on front of our house, 36705 Glenwood Road in Wayne. That has changed because of the bus lane in now. The crosswalk for the children was removed from our corner. They grassed it in, and it's moved one home to the west. There has been absolutely nothing done about the no parking. I would therefore request that those signs now be removed, since people at the school, morning and evening, park there every day, and the only people it's hurting now are my husband and myself. And for this lighting, I really hope that you say, no thank you, and find another way.
Anybody else on my right here?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Booth, and I just moved into Wayne in January on Winifred Street. I got a letter, bill, whatever you want to call it, about a month or so ago from, I'm sorry, Tina, can you please pronounce your last name for me? Stanky? Okay. I received a bill from you about property taxes or winter property taxes or something like that, saying that if they weren't paid, which I already paid when I closed on my house, that I would have to owe money. And that if I didn't get in contact with whoever I bought the house from, that it was going to be my responsibility. Thankfully, when I called your office twice, I got no call back. So that's on you. I did get my realtor to take care of it, and the mortgage company. That's handled. Now this comes in, and I'm looking at it. I see it's a proposal. 10 years is a long time. The only thing that you're buying in 10 years or over 10 years is a house, which is a 30-year mortgage. Car loans are not 10 years. Cell phone bills, like like the gentleman said, is not 10 years. That's 2 years. You guys got to do better than 10 years, because there's no guarantee on what the price is. There's no guarantee on getting it paid. Whatever deal you worked out with DTE, you guys made your bed. You got to lay in it. We're not the ones who have to pay for it, though. I understand we got to pay our taxes and everything like that. You guys need to figure out What can you do? Where can you move money? How can you fix it? What's the exit strategy? Get it done. That's my point right there. I've got my contract for my mortgage says I've got 5 years that I have to live in the house. If this goes to 10, 5 comes up and I'm out. Guys, get it done. All right? Do your jobs. Get your paycheck.
There was somebody over here. Vic?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council, for the public hearing on this notice of assessment. This is a public hearing, so the person who is able to answer the question best, step forward. Do we have a contract with DTE Electric Company? The overall contract?
Yes.
Pardon?
I said yes.
Answer is yes, okay. For how long is this contract?
I would have to ask Mr. Byton, do you know that?
Ed Queen is typically headed up
I can't hear you, sir.
You can, that's fine.
Ed Queen, head of our DPW, has been the person that's been interacting with DTE regarding street lighting contracts. He would know that better than myself.
Okay.
We certainly know what the contract is. I'm just not the guy.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
None of you guys know either? Really?
So how can you send us a letter and say how much you're gonna charge us?
Point of order, Vic?
Can I please have 8 seconds back on the clock because that was interrupted? So the question was, do we have a contract? And like I said, the best person to step forward. We, the people, received this notice by mail with no postmark date on it. City clerk didn't even put a date on it. Now, he spent my tax dollars money to let me know you're having this tonight, putting it on a bulletin board, and you don't even come prepared to answer my question. Thank you. There. So, I would like this contract available for review. No FOIAs, no freedom of information, and that clock is running too fast. The green light.
Second your motion. It should be public.
That's right.
Absolutely.
The green lights are paid for, they come out of our own city budget. Okay, we've asked you to turn some of those off. We don't need 4 of them up by the Dairy Queen. I want a copy of the contract available for all persons to be able to review. And I'd also agree with Ms. Pry. The population south of Michigan Avenue, they're bearing the burdens of this. And I asked the official in charge, I would like to know the consensus by the United States Census Bureau, what the population census is south of Michigan Avenue versus north. Because I believe in her statements and her driving around and others, our documentation would show that the people south of Michigan Avenue are bearing the brunt of it. And I want to know the tax attorney or whoever came up with this formula. How did you arrive at this? 10 years is too much. I'm not buying a cell phone for even 3 years. You are supposed to come with a plan. You got these words estimates in here. And I'm sick and tired of having the word estimates thrown at me. First of all, you tried to throw it in as a tax. And I told you it wasn't a tax until I decided to almost sue you. And then you changed it, oh, well, it's something else. We'll just assessment. We're paying 100% of your lights. Your lights, my lights. We need it for public safety. And in an old term, from an old cop that used to patrol in Wayne. They used to carry a clipboard, and anytime the light was out, they used to put a check mark on it. Good idea. The reason why? Last time Mrs. DTE was here, she told me if you don't report it in 24 hours, you, the city, have to pay for it. Where's the finance person? We have to pay for it. So when I got on the phone to 1-800 to Mrs. DTE, I told her. And sure enough, the billing shows that you get billed, we, the city, get billed for LED lights that are inoperable.
Hi, Eric Clearman, Winifred Street. I think what I'm hearing a lot of people saying is that they don't have streetlights near where they're at, and they don't want to pay for those. I understand as a city, we have to bear the burden together, but has anybody considered maybe just having streetlights on Michigan Avenue, Wayne, Vinoy, the big streets? Let subdivisions not have streetlights at all? Just turn them off, cut the bill down to say $10. Instead of 69. I think it might be a lot more palatable to a lot of people. And if they want lights in their area, they can turn on lights in the garage.
Lois Van Stipdonk from 3088 Rivers Edge Drive. And I'm really just looking for some clarification. When I got this message, I started to look on the internet for information about it. One of the things that I found, and perhaps this goes to the attorney, was from the Michigan Property Consultants LLC. And one of the statements that they make is that Michigan Supreme Court ruled in 1986, and then later affirmed in subsequent rulings, that the only justification for a special assessment levy is an increase in a property's market value. So how can it be renewed over and over again? Has there been any study done to see how much this has actually added to our property values for this to be legitimate? And I am just dumbfounded because I did not realize this was based on some kind of a contract. I thought it was similar to what Garden City went through when there was a litigation and they lost it and they had to pay for streetscape. Or Inkster when they had to pay for the misdeeds of a police officer. I wasn't aware that you could just simply give a contract that is not identified as to how much it is, and no amount that's guaranteed for any limited amount of time. I don't understand how that can possibly be. And one of the things I read, which I did not copy, they said that an assessment, if it's not done in one time, each year is supposed to be less. And this does appear that this has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. So I'm confused as to how it can just be simply a city contract that you guys, it's like garbage. Can you do this with garbage too? Just say, well, whatever the contract is, we're going to assess you for whatever is that legitimate?
No, we're maxed at mills. But the contract it's just like your light bill at home, it goes up.
I don't.
But if you have, no, but it's the same thing. I mean,
But I thought a levy was being done for a specific thing, not for just a contract to provide services.
but there's not a separate contract that's like escalating.
It's the contract, I realize that. But I did not realize that this was for a contract. It was not for a one-time deal where we got something for what we were paying for, and then it was over.
Yeah, okay.
This seems to be going on forever at this point.
Anybody else over here? Sir?
Good evening. My name is Rick Stoner. I live on Hillcrest, just off of Newburgh. I've heard some of these statements being made tonight, but I just want to reiterate. I think it's our right to see the schedule of the maintenance program from DTE, and when will we see them through the neighborhood? There should be a schedule of them coming through, inspecting lights, doing whatever they have to do to maintain them. That's one thing. I think the city council should refigure their budget so that there's no increase in taxes or this assessment. I'm sure you can move money around. It's been done before. I think you ought to do it again. Instead of just a general assessment, I think a per light cost is required from the city. You know, you schedule X amount of dollars for each area, for per person or whatever, but that should include the cost per light. I've been a 30-year resident in Wayne, and I have seen the lights change outside of our house once in the last 30 years. I may be wrong, but that's what I've seen. Now, if that's going to be what the contract is with DTE, then there's a big problem there. If we could see a breakdown of the budget, that would be nice. Have it mailed out to us, to all of us, you know, and the contract that you have with DTE. I think as a citizen of the city of Wayne, we are due that information. Now, you say 10 years. All of my life in business, the only thing that I have ever seen, unless it has changed, is the budget is for a 5-year period out. No more than that, because you cannot determine what the costs are going to be past 5 years. That's just something that is very hard to do. So with that, I know I've repeated some of the things that have been said already. Maybe they need to be repeated. But, and one other thing, I got a little bit of time left. Regardless to the lighting and this contract and everything else, like I said, I live on Hillcrest, just off of Newburgh, and there must be a whole lot of Mario Andretti's running down a Hillcrest, both directions. I think the police department ought to, you know, look at that a little closer. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Martha?
Martha Burgess. We live in Ward 1. Detroit Edison has not changed a light pole in Ward 1 since we moved in there in 1964. We have the same lines. We don't have a street light on our court. We have not one little bit of light from any street light on our house or yard. And if you will drive down the neighborhood, a lot of the light poles are like this. And they're this big around. They've been there a while.
Sir?
Evening, everybody. I live on the corner of Second Elm with the flagpoles. I've lived there 23 years. Shut off all the lights. We don't need them. I can't see paying $64 more a year for these lights. You got all these green lights doubled up down here on the corner of Wayne and Elm. I mean, why? I got one light at my corner, and then the next light isn't down until Chestnut, and there's a lot of darkness in between. The lady and I have motion lights. If we didn't have our motion lights, it would be pitch dark out there. So I don't know, 10 years seems excessive. It should be 5 years into the subject. So I'm done.
Anybody else over here? Huh?
Can I use the remainder of my time to address 2 points? Sure.
You need to come forward. I know.
All right. I understand we're paying for lights. Are we paying for the lights on Michigan Avenue, yes or no? Yes. Okay.
Pay for
All right.
everything.
Now, time out. You go down Michigan Avenue any time of the day, any time of the night. Every single car dealership, gas station, restaurant, they've got their windows blasting with LEDs. Every single one. I live across the street from a gas station. It's on the far side, the south side of Michigan Avenue, blasting into my bedroom all night, even with my blinds shut. Let's start going at all these businesses with all their LED lights. Shut off the lights on Michigan Avenue because the damn business is lighted up, first of all. So that's one point there. The other point, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, so I'll let you guys go.
And I just want to make a point. The businesses are all paying this also, and they pay a much higher rate than the residents do.
Hi, I am Mrs. Gregory, and I live on 33225 on the corner of Dean and Gerald Street. We lived there and my husband for the last 4 years, and there's one light for 15 houses. One light for 15 houses. Most of the neighbors have all lights, sensor lights, that puts more lights than your light. Because the light that you have, it's on the crescent, it's on the corner. It probably the spotlight's about maybe 6 by 6 that it lights on the floor. That's it. And I think it's an injustice for the people that live in Wayne, because mostly Wayne is a very older, not a population. People are not working. Not like most of them are sick. And a lot of them don't have the means to pay the taxes that you guys are asking. And I asked my neighbor that's been there for at least 35 years, the light that we live on was never changed. So if there's a storm, I'm out of electricity for at least 1 or 2 days. And that happens probably between 10 to 15 times a year. And I think as the citizen here of Wayne should be allowed to have any paperwork that's accessible, the contract, how are you going to spend the money, where is it going to go, and who's going to spend it? Because tell me, here, for the 5 years I've been here, the street, I can see the street, no, like, we're going to fix the street. No, all the street's going to be fixed. I see 4 trucks, 10 people, 1 person put the tarp. So you guys need to take your budget and make it sure that it's well spent, because I think it's a disgrace that you're creating, and for sure, none of you I will vote for to come back.
Anybody, ma'am?
Sorry. You know, like Ford got switched over. So I'm asking, since the city of Wayne is not getting any money from that deal, so are you going to spread more money because you lost a lot of money from the Ford plant?
Anybody else? Because we're,
Pat Hardy from Rivers Edge Drive. I'm curious. My estimate was $69. Most people that I've talked to is also $69. Being that we do not use the street lights in our subdivision, shouldn't this adjustment or this estimate be based on where you live or what usage you use of the street lights? I realize we should probably pay something for the use of the lights within the city on the main streets and stuff like that, but it seems to me our bill should be a little bit lower than everybody else's because we don't use street lights.
like I said earlier, it's all the streetlights together. Everybody's paying the same price on your estimate.
Well, it shouldn't be. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else? Kathy?
Kathy Rockwell. I'd just like to concur with what most of the people said tonight. And the word estimate the first year really scares me because you don't know if it's going to go up or down, and I really think that, never, right. And it really scares me that 10 years is such a long time. I'd go for 2 years or 5 years. I know it's probably a need, But I think we're just asking for too much with the economy the way it is now. And I just don't agree with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Sandra Chappell. I have a property on Grant in Wayne, and I cannot believe not one of you guys have a copy of that DTE contract. That's your job. That's what you were hired for, is to take care of us people, and you're not doing it. So you're not going to get my vote.
John?
John Van Stipdunk on River's Edge Drive. No complaints from me. But I'm here to offer you a proposal for 3 years. Do an assessment for 3 years, reduce the assessment by 7%, and fix it for those 3 years. There's no increase, there's no decrease. Reduce the business charge, or the businesses that are charged, by 50% for 3 years. Take those 3 years, work with DTE, and correct the blockage of the foliage that the trees are casting on the trees so that the lights are better. Replace the dead bulbs and shift somebody for a month to the afternoon or midnight shift and have that person go around and notate and document where the problems exist so that you and DTE can fix it. I hope you've written that down and not committed it to memory, because I don't trust your memories. I hope you've written it down. And Mr. Bosnick, Mr. Miller, Mr. Dowd, Mr. Wagner, Mr. Porter, Mr. Racy, Ms. Skiff, Mr. Webster, I thank you for paying attention and giving us the respect and listen. Ms. Nosarini, have you been doing your homework with your head down?
I've been writing all the notes.
I don't believe it.
We have 5 pages. Got them all right here.
It's Rick Stoner again. I think I had a few seconds left on my time. I think what we've been hearing here tonight is a lot of complaints as far as what has been put together for the city of Wayne and why we're being charged what we're being charged. Now, I think it's up to us to charge the city council to do their job, renegotiate if you have to, and fix the problems that everybody has been talking about. That's all I got to say.
Is there anybody else that hasn't spoken? Is there anybody else that hasn't spoken? We're almost at 8 o'clock. I got to do anybody who hasn't spoken.
We took time from our work to be here.
Exactly.
So you should do the same thing.
We are. We have an 8 o'clock meeting.
1 hour is nothing. Okay, thank you.
Usually an assessment is for a particular item. What is the item that DTE is offering us for this $69 per month? There's already lights that are here. Are they doing additional lighting? What are they doing?
This is just
for
to cover
the
our bill.
Special assessment. An assessment is for something. What are they doing?
I don't.
Maintenance? People are saying there's no maintenance. They're not cutting down trees. They're not replacing stuff. They don't do wires. So what is the assessment for? It's a cost for what?
Having the light turned on.
That's not in your
It's the electric
taxes
bill.
originally?
It's your electric bill, yeah. It's your
Okay, so
electric bill.
the city's electric bill is not in Wayne.
Can I have please be quiet? I can't hear. Thank you.
So the city's electric bill is not incorporated already into the taxes?
No, that was the issue. A lot of communities
Do
have
we
been
have
doing
one
that
for
for
gas
years.
also, and water?
We had to
It's a
do it.
special
We had to do it
assessment?
for a number of years ago. We did it for the lights so that we could have lights.
Okay, so some of the lights were upgraded,
And that
correct?
at no cost
So
to
what's
the
being
residents.
done for this next 10 years?
We're still working on things.
You're charging
There's only
them
one
for an
person on-
ambiguous thing? Hot air?
It's the light bill. It's the electric bill.
Okay, so
That's
do
what
you-
it is.
Do we get a special assessment for gas then and for water and?
You do have your water bill.
Well, yeah, but this is the cities. The streetlights are basically
We're
the
the
cities
all
unless
of us are the
individuals
city.
pay for it separately, correct?
All of us are the city.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
There,
yeah. Please stop the disrespect. No, I'm not going to go back to second questions. I allowed the one because it's a new resident that came to the community, and I did not want to shut him down, and I'm sorry. But that's why I allowed that to happen, because he's never been to a council meeting, and he didn't know that we don't do that. So is there anybody else that would like to speak? No, Vic, you've already spoke. Vic, you've already spoke. No, I'm sorry. Is there somebody else that would like to speak?
Come on. We're listening. Can I ask a clarification? Clarification? Could I ask clarification?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask for just a clarification?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello?
I said go ahead.
The clarification, yes, is I asked those questions, and due to the fact that it was a public hearing, I was awaiting a response on those questions of the contract. And since the council became, and the persons responsible for it became unprepared, I like Mr. John here say, I'll give you another proposal. I say that this public hearing be suspended, and that a second public hearing be held, at which time you will have all your paperwork ready. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to have you speak on it. I'm going to have the city manager speak on, we were able to get the contract information. She was.
I just have a moment, real quick.
No, I do. No, hold on a second.
City's required to tell
Chris.
the residents that they have a right to appeal the special assessment once it's passed.
That's
You
fine.
are required to tell.
We haven't passed anything yet, though, so please.
This is a,
So each time that the city has a new project, so for instance, the LED project, it starts with a 5-year agreement with DTE. Any other projects that we've had completed are on a month-to-month basis. So basically, what ends up happening is anything that's currently in place, let's skip the LEDs, anything that's currently in place, we are on a month-to-month contract basis. And what the city can do is the contract can be terminated by mutual consent or with 12 months' notice by either party. So we do have that in place. However, with the LED lights right now, that was about 3 years ago, so we still have about 2 more years to go, and then we can start negotiating from a month-to-month basis. So that's what the contract language stipulates at this time.
thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else? Anybody else that wanted to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'm closing the public hearing. Oh, I need a motion to close.
Comments from the council?
We're going to have that afterwards. We're just closing, I just need a motion to close the public.
So motion to close. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.